I am going to get to that decree and declare and the blood being sealed in the name of Jesus and all the things, and the scepter. Who knew the word scepter was in the Bible so many times? For such a time as this, the book of Esther. In the Bible, there's a book of the Bible called Esther, and it is a story, an incredible story of a Jewish girl who became queen of a kingdom over multiple countries. And the way that God elevated her into her position and the humility that she maintained through the whole thing, and just the power behind all the little details in this story that I had never really seen before is so amazing. So first I want to give you a little background, okay, of when this actually was in a timeline of where we were just in the world. And so Esther takes place in Persia, which is modern day Iran. I always love to look and see, where it was then and where it is now. In the city of Susa, before Ezra's return to Jerusalem. If you know anything about the book of Ezra, he was the one who went back to Jerusalem from a captivity. And most scholars believe that the time of the book of Esther was in the Hellenistic period, but before the Persian Empire fell to Greece. So the Hellenistic period really most of the time is associated with the Greeks. But this was during that period, but just before the Greeks took over the Persian Empire. So this is where we are in the timeline. So we had the Babylonian Empire that conquered Jerusalem and took Jews into slavery. And then came the Medo-Persian Empire, and this is where we are, in the timeline on that. And you can look, if you ever have read the book of Daniel, which can be super confusing too, but so intriguing. I did a deep dive study on that. It's been about 7 or 8 years ago, but would love to do that again. I learned so much about not only the Bible, but just history in general. It's pretty amazing. But there's a dream that the king had, King Nebuchadnezzar had in the book of Daniel, and this is the dream you'll see on one side. And it all coincides with the empires that are in Zechariah, that Zechariah saw, the 4 horns that he saw. And it also is a parallel to Daniel's dream that he had in chapter 7 of the lion, bear, leopard, and the terrible beast. And so these also line up with the empires and Nebuchadnezzar's dream. And so just seeing the visual of all of these things together is so amazing, because it just gives you more of a picture of, I don't know, it helps me to understand it a little bit better. So I hope that helps for you to kind of see, because, when you're reading these things, you're like, what does that even mean? A head of gold, a chest, but like seeing these things together kind of allows you to be able to get the visual and understand it a little bit better. So I hope that helps. We will move into the background of the book of Esther. The king who is in power in the book of Esther was King Xerxes, I think some people call him. Xerxes reigned from India to Ethiopia over 127 provinces. And so I pulled up a map because I wanted to see exactly like how many countries that encompassed. His royal throne was at the citadel in Susa, which we just learned is modern day Iran. And also just made a note of where Jerusalem is in that whole thing, because that was also part of the kingdom. So that's a lot of territory. So this is just the introduction and background to the story of Esther. And so I'm going to leave it there for now. And I just would love for you to come back and we'll dive into Esther chapter 1. I am going to get to that decree and declare and the blood being sealed in the name of Jesus and all the things and the scepter. Who knew the word scepter was in the Bible so many times? So I'm excited to get into this with you and to have you dive in with your friends and just share this. If you're interested, give me comments, like any questions that you have. I would love to hear from you. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. So go to the playlist and watch the Esther videos. I have broken them up into different parts, and they're all in the Esther playlist, ready for you to dive in. Thanks so much.